fire on December 17th would ignite the entire world, but the kindling had been laid and was there for 4 to 3 years before. What happened in the Arab world in 2011 was stunning. Wondrous things happened, tragic things happened. The result is the Middle East will never be the same. And because the Middle East, through its energy supplies and central location, affects every other part of the world, neither will anything else. As breathtaking as the events of 2011 were, they are only the beginning of the changes that will likely take place in the region in the decades ahead. I'll skip this. Okay, the two novels. This presentation focuses on 2 Egyptian novels, Mohammed Salmawi's latest work, Wings of the Butterfly, which was published early 2011, and which in fact predicted the revolution. Salmawi's choice of title reflects the theory of Edward Lawrence in 1972, which is explained in the novel, of how one small event in one corner of the globe could turn into a meteorological phenomenon in another part of the world. Thus, the flapping wings of one tiny creature like a butterfly may cause a tornado or revolution. This is exactly what happened in Tunisia. One man's rebellious action started a whole wave of revolutions and ignited the Arab Spring. As for H.Elkheshen's novel, 7 Days in Tahrir, it was written immediately after the ousting of Mubarak. Therefore, it is the first novel to depict the Egyptian revolution. Both novels revolve around socio-political upheavals in Egypt. Both works portray the many violations of human rights, especially women's rights, manifested in the oppression and sexual harassment of females, as well as the psychological and physical torturing of political prisoners, the detaining, killing, and the maiming of demonstrators who were calling for freedom, justice, and the overthrow of the Mubarak regime. Both heroines, Doha Kinani in Wings of the Butterfly and Ilham Abdelhamid in 7 Days in Tahrir, do not show any interest in politics at first, but gradually they begin to take part in demonstrations that lead to the revolution. Both are married to leading politicians in the former ruling National Democratic Party. Doha is unhappily married as her husband is impotent and blames her for it. Yet she is unable to ask for a divorce or even tell her family, as telling them is considered a grave social taboo. She remains imprisoned in an unfulfilling marriage for years as the patriarchal oppressive society does not accept women's complaints of their husband's impotency. Therefore, she finds refuge in her work as a fashion designer until she meets Ashraf al-Zaini, the political activist and university professor, and they fall in love. Okay, Layla Ahmed, the distinguished feminist critic, states, a number of hadiths form the basis of the jurist's opinion that women have the right to complete sexual satisfaction in marriage. In one such hadith, a woman complained to Prophet Muhammad that her husband practiced sexual abstinence out of religious zeal, and Muhammad rebuked the husband on the grounds that Islam did not require or even approve of abstinence, and that he had sexual obligations towards his wife. In another hadith, a woman who had had one husband and was now married to a second came to the Prophet wishing to return to her first husband and asking to be divorced from the second because of the latter's sexual inadequacy. The hadith reports that others standing by were shocked at her candid speech and rebuked her, but the Prophet, who smiled, responded sympathetically, and his doing so is taken as indicating that women have a right to sexual satisfaction in marriage. Although Islam calls for the right of sexual satisfaction for both spouses, yet society does not regard this as a necessary right for wives. Society here. It is interesting how these two hadiths are hardly ever mentioned or quoted by the sheikhs. Has anybody ever heard of these? I even tried to look them up on the internet in Israeli, but I couldn't find them. But I'm sure they're there somewhere. The very first scene in Wings of the Butterfly depicts a demonstration in Tahrir Square where the security forces have blocked the surrounding streets, and Doha finds herself entrapped in it. She is compared to the moth entrapped in her own cocoon, awaiting rain like the Egyptian tiger butterfly, which remains dormant until rain arrives. Most of the characters in this novel are on a grave search for the homeland and their own identities. Ayman, for instance, the young university student, is searching for his real mother, whom he thought was dead. Salman uses this search for the mother as a metaphor for the homeland. As for the other heroine, Ilham Hamid in 7 Days, Tahrir, she's a second wife in an Arfi marriage, not an official marriage, and is well aware that her husband exploits her for his own sexual gratification only. Her poverty compels her to accept such a marriage. In a telephone interview with the novelist, he remarked that Ilham's marriage was a form of prostitution. I agree. Throughout the novel, there are many references to the fact that her husband perceives her simply as a body. Ilham, too, is searching for her identity and her homeland. There are a number of interesting characters in 7 Days who live on the same street. It's called H.Elkheshen, near Tahrir Square, and who are also searching for their identities just as in Wings of the Butterfly. There is Ramis, the young Christian, who was the top of his class in the Faculty of Law and has not been appointed as an instructor nor as a public attorney, as he is a cop. Nevertheless, he takes part in the demonstrations wearing a big wooden cross and disregards his parents' wishes not to participate. He struggles for his rights together with his other neighbors. One of the other neighbors are Abdullah, who belongs to the Islamic Brotherhood and does not know at first where his loyalty should lie, with the Brotherhood or with the protesters. There is also Sharif, the police academy cadet, whose brother is a high-ranking security officer, Amnadawla, and is torn between his allegiance to police policies and the Egyptian people. Khalid, the businessman, fluctuates between his economic interests and the revolution. Nevertheless, Basim and Ilham are the only two characters who know where their allegiances lie from the outset of the novel, that is, with protesters in Tahrir. Ultimately, almost all the characters overcome their conflicts and go to Tahrir Square to call for an end to corruption and demand liberty, justice, and equality. H.Elkheshen chose the most significant 7 days during the revolution to highlight the major events and the concomitant feelings of anger, frustration, shock, disappointments, as well as comradeship and patriotism that filled Tahrir Square.